Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM 93.3. Let's go. All right, now look how nimble we are. We just got the news that the Federal Reserve is dropping interest rate points, and we're like, all right, we're going to have to lead with that. Scrap what we're doing. Abort the mission. Call Spencer McGowan. Spencer McGowan's on the James Show again. So, Federal Reserve cuts rates. What does that mean for the average person listening to WBAP, Spencer?
Well, it sounds like good news, right? Because they did cut by a quarter as anticipated. Well, why did the Dow go down 700 Dow points concurrent with their announcements? That was a key question for the last half hour.
What, do you have a theory on that?
Well, it's rippling through that they're not going to cut as fast and as much this next year. And that means only 0.25% interest rate cuts. Whereas before, we talked about the projections last time that we mentioned or predicted that they would do this today. Well, they changed the projections because, in their opinion, well, I guess we would summarize it by saying inflation is a little stickier than they thought.
Yeah, they were using the term firm. Yes, inflation is not burning hot, not destroying the purchasing power of your dollar. Firm, Spencer.
Well, in this case, yeah, prices are not coming down. And one of the things they said is, okay, we're only going to do 0.25% cuts, and these are the new projections by all of the suits, and then 2 cuts in 26. And so that puts them closer to their 3, and then maybe another one in 27.
Well, they don't always live up to these predictions. Like, they told us all through 2023, yeah, we're going to be cutting rates any day now. Yeah, we expect to be cutting rates. Yeah, we sure do feel like cutting rates. And then they didn't cut them till almost the end of 2024.
I know. Biden must be upset.
Well, hey, we got to go into the election day with the economy goosed, but he wasn't on the ballot anyway.
In this case, it's just taken them longer to get to what would be a neutral rate. What's a neutral rate? The overnight bank lending rate and T-bills are about what inflation is. And inflation's about 3, but they're going to take their time getting there to constrain it. The hope for more cuts could come from an increase in productivity through deregulation next year.
So does this mean it's going to trickle down and eventually we'll see lower interest rates on like credit cards or auto loans or, God forbid, a mortgage?
Well, if you're a bank, you're going to trickle it down pretty slowly and bank all that profit and say, excellent. So yes, it'll come down, but slowly. But like Mr. Burns, the bankers will be taking their time.
So what is the rate at now?
For credit cards?
No. For the federal funds rate.
Okay, Fed funds, 4.25% to 4.5%. So that's the overnight bank lending rate where the suits loan to each other, right? And the T-bills, the 90-day T-bill, generally follows that rate. And it's the rate that predicted earlier this week that, yes, they were going to cut by 1/4. Now, they say they're going to take it down 0.5% next year, 0.5% the year after that.
Spencer McGowan, do you have any concern about the Dow maybe notching its 10th losing day in a row?
Well, we were due for a pullback. You go up, 30% on the NASDAQ and 25% on the S&P, and the Dow was up at one point close to 20%. Well, you're kind of due for about a 10% normal correction, and this looks like part of that. It's just you went real far, real fast. And part of the reason you did that, when the Fed said they were going to bring the rates down pretty quickly, net present value of future earnings goes way up. And that's how you value a company. And you've pretty much had maybe an overly optimistic preloading of that rally, and you'll give some back, it looks like, maybe a little more than just today.
Well, I think the basics of the inflation are largely being ignored today because, yeah, the Fed lowering rates can have a slight, upward effect on inflation. But the other headline happening down the road in Congress is they're about to pass a big omnibus spending bill that still has the giant deficit spending in it, and it's going to require printing hundreds of billions of more dollars to put into the money supply. And until they get serious about that, it doesn't really matter a whole lot what the Fed does.
Well, the dramatic government shutdown scheduled for Saturday unless something changes. And it looks like that's a possibility. You know what those dreaded government shutdowns result in the terms of the equity markets? About 90 days later, it's usually about 5% higher. So shutting down the government is not necessarily bad for our 401k plans.
Yeah, I love a good government shutdown. I hope we break records. I shut it down for as long as possible, as much as possible, and stop telling me it's a bad thing. Spencer McGowan, how do they find your work outside of the James Show?
Oh, just networthradio.com, and everything's right there.
Thank you very much, Spencer McGowan, Net Worth Radio. Appreciate your time, sir. All right, you're going to hear some more details about what's going on with this spending bill. And one of the questions that is being debated concerning this omnibus that they're working on right now, because there's a big, scary government shutdown that could happen on Saturday. And, I'm so scared. Not a shutdown. But in there is a raise for Congress. And so I'm going to ask you, what do you think of this spending bill? And then a sub-question on that is, do you think Congress should get a raise? I do. Give me a minute. I'm going to tell you what's in this spending bill, and then I'll give you my little theory on why I think Congress should get a raise. I know it sounds weird. Like, don't you hate Congress, James? Yeah, exactly. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. So what's going on with the drones? I don't know. I do know the government's still pretending like they don't know, because there's no way they don't know. And I think we all pretty much agree that it's either some entity that the government not only knows about, but is probably participating in, military exercises or CIA or something. But I'm starting to think it's just as likely a handful of teenagers who got some drones for Christmas at Walmart and just having a little fun with us. Some Best Buy drones, I don't know. Which one is more likely? Don't know. Let's ask someone who might have a better beat on this. Retired Major General Bob Dees back on The James Show. If you had to guess right now, where do you think the drones are coming from?
Yeah, I'd say we're on the edge of a drone revolution. We're seeing that in warfare, commercial enterprise, and so forth. So there's a huge growth of drone use. Now, that said, I think we probably have some malign actors within that whole sanctuary of millions of drones, or 1 million plus drones in the United States. President Biden said 100. Well, if there's 100 Chinese drones, for instance, that are gathering intel in the same way that the balloon that floated across our nation gathered intel, then that's a serious national security threat. So I don't think it's one or the other. I think you probably have a huge amount of these drones that may be recreational, commercial, et cetera. But I think we have enough evidence that we've got malign actors, nation states, particularly China, that are willing to, they're very smart, and they're navigating in every way possible into the innards of our country.
Do you think we're doing that to China? Do you think we have some random drones that are gathering intel over these guys? They're just not reporting it because they control the media?
Yeah, I doubt it, because but I need to be careful. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think drone use in China is as rampant as is in the United States, and so drone use in China would be easier to pick up, easier to detect. I suspect, the United States is doing various types of intelligence gathering. I don't know that drones is one of them against China, but I do think there's an ample opportunity for China is buying farmlands around our military bases, and some of these sightings over military bases are very suspicious. I think there's probably a malignant aspect to that.
Well, we have guns that are specifically, for shooting other human beings. We have guns that are meant to shoot armored vehicles like tanks and whatnot. We have guns that are supposed to shoot planes out of the sky. Do we have a gun for drones?
Yeah, gun may not be the right verbiage. I know that President Trump said we've got, he said shoot them down. In a broader sense, there's more than one way to shoot them down. You don't have to shoot them down with a gun. Drones are controlled electronically, wavelengths, frequencies, et cetera. And so you can bring a drone down even bring a drone down probably without a catastrophic crash, that then allows us to apprehend the drone. If somebody's on the highway and they're going 100 miles an hour in a 60 mile an hour zone, sooner or later a policeman will pull them over and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Well, I think we need some drone policemen that, with our capabilities at federal and state at least, need to pull over a couple of these drones, find out what we're talking about. We're not talking about little recreational things. We're talking about Volkswagen or bus size of drones that are flying around at times, which is a serious concern.
And I know the temptation is there, but fellow Texans, you cannot shoot at drones. Do not start shooting at these. As fun as it may be, it looks like free targets from God. Just it's across the board, though, illegal to even tamper with these things. So, I mean, right now it sounds like a lot of people's hands are tied in dealing with it. Yeah,
well, you're right, and in fact, it's tantamount to a federal offense because it's the same as shooting at a aircraft in flight. It's the same as well. So yeah, we don't want to shoot them down, but there are other ways to bring them down. I think our government they've had an impotent response, which is characteristic, frankly, of the Biden administration. Regrettably, complex scenarios like this are usually just ignored, and they'll say, "Well, nothing to see here," and the reality is there was nothing to see with the Chinese balloon, yet there was, etc. Nature abhors a vacuum, and the Biden administration has been so silent on this, so impotent, that things are going crazy across the country with people wanting to know, people being fearful, and the role of government is not to allow that to occur, but to provide for good civil order. Lack of information in a scenario like this does not help.
All right, Major General Bob Dees, we got about 30 seconds left. What can I promote for you today?
Oh, sure. Well, thank you. The National Center for Healthy Veterans. We had a graduation today. We had 15 guys, and it was incredible to talk about, well, I used to be addicted to meth or heroin, or I'm an alcoholic, used to be. Now I'm doing well. These guys, to see the life changes at National Center is very encouraging. And I just ask people to come to our website, healthyveterans.org. You can refer a veteran. We've got people from Texas, Florida, all across the nation, Iowa, New Hampshire. Send a veteran that needs our help. Send them our way, and we'll help them out. And then also donate. As you know, we had a disastrous barn fire. We need help there. And end-of-year giving. So send some love our way in that regard. And then also our local folks can certainly volunteer. And likewise, I'll be in Texas here about every 2-3 months, and I'm helping folks in Texas to do the same thing on behalf of veterans. So our veterans are untapped national treasure. We need to help them. And thanks, James, for the shout out here.
All right. Explain to Guy, I've never been in any of the military branches. How high is Major General? Is that like one of the top ranks? Do you get to wear like an eagle or stars, or what does that look like to someone who doesn't know?
Well, you get to wear 2 stars. Okay. And so my wife, military bride for many years, it goes, be my little general, brigadier general, major general, which is what I am, lieutenant general, 3 stars, and full general, which is 4 stars. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4-star generals, and in certain wartime conditions, you have 5-star generals. There have been just a small number of those. So that's the rank structure, and then below that you have colonels and lieutenant colonels, majors, and then on the enlisted side you have the blue-collar workers that really do the great work in the military and are the glue that holds it all together. Those are the non-commissioned officers, and then the enlisted soldiers underneath. So
and then I think underneath them it's like the Eagle Scouts. Aren't they in there somewhere?
There you go.
All right.
That's right.
Just having some fun with you. All right. Thank you very much. Bob Dees, the website, healthyveterans.org. Thank you, sir.
James, thanks a lot. Take care. We'll see.
All right, coming up next, we're going to look at this hearing that was had where they brought in a dude, the president of the NCAA, and asked him about their trans policies, because right now on paper it says they allow guys who identify as girls to go into the locker rooms, the showers, and the sporting and the private places of women. And it's a fun little back and forth. You'll hear it next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. This is another argument that I enjoy, and it's one of these because you're right. It's not even a losable argument. You know, that's a litmus test that I think a lot of people have learned, even for my lefty friends. Ask them the question, what's a woman? Or ask them, can men have babies? And if you're confused about that, well, then that just says a whole lot about how much you're willing to stretch your imagination and do mental gymnastics to make the world fit your worldview instead of vice versa. And so it's always fun to sit down and watch. Like this is Josh Hawley. He's a Republican congressman from Missouri, and he's got the NCAA president, Charlie Baker, in front of him. And they're asking about exactly what you think, trans in women's sports. I'm going to play you 3 little cuts here. I'm sorry they're so long, but you just got to hear how the guy, look, why does he have to lie? Why does he have to dodge the question? Why does he have to obfuscate? It's because Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, knows what he supports is wrong, knows what he supports is illogical, knows what he supports is unpopular. That's why he's got to play these word games. But Josh Hawley does a pretty good job corralling him. You're going to love this.
Thanks, Senator Schiff. Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Baker, if I could just start with you. I confess I didn't understand your answer to Senator Kennedy's question about the safety of women in the sports of the NCAA overseas. Did you say the federal law requires the NCAA to permit biological men to play in women's sports?
No, I said there have been 5 cases in federal court in the past 18 months. And
okay, because I thought you told him that
federal judges sided with participation.
The reason the NCAA couldn't take a position on this, in fact, you have taken a position on it, you're affirmatively permitting biological men in women's sports. But you said to him it's because of federal law. There's no federal law that requires it, right? The relevant federal law is Title IX, is it not? You're familiar with Title IX.
If guidance on this issue from Title IX or guidance with respect to discrimination law would be
Title IX is already the law. Title IX says
federal judges have ruled on
20 U.S.C. Section 1681A. By the way, let's just dispense with that canard. No federal court has ordered the NCAA to include biological men in women's sports, right?
Actually,
there's not a single case that has ordered the NCAA to do so, correct?
That's pretty much what they decided in the San
No, don't
Jose
say pretty
case.
much.
Pretty much. All right, so the pretty much there is the giveaway. Why do you have to obfuscate? Because the excuse he's given, because Josh Hawley has the rules in front of him. They've read them already in the hearing. Why are you permitting trans men who think they're women into women's spaces, women's locker rooms, women's bathrooms, women's showers, women's sports? And he's like, well, it's not that we're allowing them. It's not our choice. I mean, that's what the federal government says. There's no law that says that. Oh, well, there's court cases that say we got to do that. And then it's like, no, there's court cases where people will sue you to stop that. And it was thrown out, but it never says that you have to do that. And then there's Title IX that it says explicitly, and we'll skip this part and catch up later on in the hearing. It says no person shall, on the basis of sex, be denied the benefits of any educational activity or program receiving federal funds. You are in the court at this moment arguing Title IX doesn't apply to NCAA, which is astounding given the amount of money NCAA gets. We'll kind of pick it up from there. Josh Hawley versus the NCAA president, Charlie Baker.
Court. And your rules explicitly permit biological males in women's sports. And I am asking you, why is that fair to the women? All of these women on these teams had to forfeit games and therefore a chance to compete in the championship because of your rules. And I want to know, why is that protective of women? That's my question.
So far, the federal government on the court side has issued decisions several times.
No, I'm not asking about the
year.
courts. I know what the courts have done. Not one of them has ordered the NCAA.
Of federal law.
This is your policy, which you will not defend because, frankly, it's indefensible. Why are you, Mr. Baker, why are you allowing biological men to play in women's sports?
Because we believe that's consistent with federal policy.
See the punt there?
So we're right back to your testimony.
See, we have this policy, but it's not our policy. We're just doing what the courts tell us. We're just doing what the feds tell us. We don't support this. It's just we're doing what we're told. One more clip here. And this is so fun to listen to because this is an unwinnable argument. You're allowing men into women's changing rooms, into their showers. Women are having to forfeit games. Women are having to like Riley Gaines, like fastest woman swimmer in the college world, has to take the silver medal. Anyway, this last little clip is a good cherry on top.
Testimony is you believe you're compelled to do it by federal law. You would change it otherwise?
We believe our policy.
Not here. Move this here.
Locker rooms. Why do you do that, by the way? Why do your guidelines allow biological men into women's locker rooms without the women's consent, without the women's foreknowledge? Why do you do that?
That's not what our guidelines say.
They do say that. I've got them right here.
Read it to him, Josh.
Say that transgender student athletes should be able to use the locker room, shower, and toilet facilities in accordance with their gender identity. And here they are, right here.
And then everybody else should have an opportunity to use other facilities if they wish to do so.
Okay, so the burden's on the women. So if the women then want to move to a different facility, in other words, if they want to abandon their own locker room, you're saying that they should have to do that? So in other words, it's their problem?
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. I could do that all day. I could just listen to that all day. Some nerdy little pencil neck lawyer who's in the right, just dressing down. A guy defending allowing guys in the shower with your daughters. It's an unlosable argument, but there they are trying to make it. 800-288-9227 if you want to be part of the James Show. Coming up next, we're going to talk about a study that shows women are feeling more isolated in their work environment. Are they right, or are we overlooking something? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's stop talking about this news for a second and talk about you. There's a study that says 1 in 3 women feel isolated in their work environment. And I don't think that's something that's exclusive to women. I think a lot of men feel this way too. My next guest, Betsy Allen Manning, is coming back on the James Show to give me her thoughts. I mean, isolated. Should we even really be concerned about people feeling isolated at work? I mean, work's not where you're supposed to be getting your social fulfillment. So do you think this is a big issue?
Yeah, James. I mean, look, 1 in 3 women feel isolated at work, but also 19% of men, just like you said.
So like 1 in 5 men.
Isolated as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it's becoming a red flag for workplace health. Right? They're starting to look at that and say, what's happening here? Why are we feeling lonely? And the loneliness factor is actually losing some talent. People want to go elsewhere where they can feel like they're part of a team.
I see. I don't like these studies because your job, maybe it's supposed to be lonely. You know, if you're a toll booth Willie or you're a security guard, you're doomed to a life of loneliness, and that's okay. That there's nothing wrong with the job. That's just part of it. I mean, how is this an actual problem?
Yeah, well, first of all, for employers, loneliness hurts retention, right? Lonely employees are disengaged employees. Gallup estimates nearly 18% of employees' annual salary is lost when engagement drops. So that matters. And friendship matters. 78% of women say having close friends at work is essential for them. So that means workplace friendships, they're not just nice to have, they're retention tools for employers. And when you get that, now you're that destination workplace.
Well, yeah, but I like to address this issue by tampering people's expectations. You're not supposed to have fun at your job. You're not supposed to have, social fulfillment at your job. And then where are these people thinking that this is supposed to be a fun time, the workplace?
James, we are no longer operating in those times. 80% of people say they need a sense of purpose in order to feel like they have job satisfaction. So we're no longer in the day and age, you and I, our day and age where we've worked and we continue to work. If we had bad leaders ahead of us and managers, we continue to work whether we like the job or not. We aren't in those times anymore.
Well, see, I think that's the problem. I think we need to start telling the younger generation, do not expect any kind of fulfillment or purpose out of your job. Hey, look, some people do get a fulfilling job. Some people rescue kitty cats, or some people are pediatric surgeons, but someone has to pick up the trash. Someone has to clean the toilets.
But can you not pick up the trash and also feel like you're giving a smile to everybody in the neighborhood while you do it? I just think that sense of purpose needs to put back into the workplace, or needs to be put into the workplace, because that's what they're demanding. And I don't think we need to meet every single one of their demands, but I do think we should listen to this particular one.
Well, I'm not dismissing, that they are looking for fulfillment. I'm just saying you don't find it at your job. Get a hobby. Maybe you could go like rescue kitty cats for a hobby, or maybe you could pick up litter for a hobby, or volunteer at with the homeless or some other, just ministry in your own community. And I find like this emptiness that a lot of people feel, if you're looking for it from your job, you're probably missing like a charitable aspect of your life.
Well, and it's not just an emptiness. It's the feeling of isolation that we're specifically talking about in the study, right? The isolation epidemic. You have to think it's being amplified in today's work environment with 61% of women who are working in hybrid or remote environments. So, yes, they want more flexibility, but that often translates to loneliness for a lot of women. Also, something to consider, inflation has been a direct cause of isolation. 61% of women say finances limit their ability to socialize outside of work. So they're having to choose between coffee, catch up with a colleague, and filling up their gas tank.
Okay, so tell me that part again about the women who are working remotely. That makes it worse?
Well, if you think about it, so 61% of women work in a hybrid or remote environment. When you're working, they want more flexibility, but at the same time, when you're working remotely or you're working in a hybrid environment, you're not getting the face-to-face time or the team building time that you would normally have in a work environment when you come to work. So they're starting to feel that direct impact of loneliness. And what leaders need to start doing is start putting these, we call them ERGs, employee resource groups. So you can have women-focused employee resource groups. You can have a team building or collaborative team building and innovative sessions together where you're overcoming challenges together remotely in order to bring people together to make them feel they're actually part of a team.
You sound like so much nicer person than me. If I heard my employees griping about how they don't feel fulfilled at work, I'd be like, go learn acoustic guitar and start a folk band if you're looking for fulfillment. It's not going to happen here. Get back to work.
Well, I don't know if it's just that I'm nicer or if I'm just really up in tune with what the employees really want in today's workforce. And, that's my job, is to create better workforces.
Don't listen to her, Garrett. Garrett, you're not here for fulfillment. We're here for ratings. We're here for revenue. That's it. Thank you very much. How do they find your work outside of WBAP, Betsy Allen Manning?
Thanks so much for having me.
What's your website?
BetsyAllenManning.com.
Thank you very much. There you go. Now, is this just me being a butthead? Because I feel like there's the generational gap or something happening here. You're not supposed to enjoy. Not everyone gets to enjoy their job. Not everyone gets fulfillment out of their job. If you need fulfillment, go to church. Or if you're an atheist, go sit in an empty room or something. But I don't know. I see these people coming into the workplace with expectations about, I just don't feel like you're listening to me. I'm not here to listen to you. We're here to bale hay. We're here to make widgets. We're here to get ratings and revenue. The Army doesn't care about your feelings. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. If you want somebody to care about your feelings, get a dog. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.